morning. It is Tuesday, the 2nd of December. I'm Méabh Mc Mahon, and this is Europe Today, Euronews' daily live fix of European news and analysis. Coming up, another day, another attempt to end the war in Ukraine, now entering its fourth winter. As the US piles pressure on the country to make concessions, the French president pulled out all the stops for President Zelensky and his wife Olena Zelensky yesterday. As they move on to Ireland today, concern is rising that Ukraine could be forced into a bad deal. For an update, I'm joined here on set by Euronews' Ukraine correspondent, Sasha Vakalina, and Euronews' EU editor, Maria Tadeo. Good morning. Lovely to have you with us. Sasha, the territorial question seems to be the hardest to solve. How will they manage?
This has always been the most complicated point both for Kyiv and for Moscow, because while Kyiv is trying to negotiate and trying to see where the deal is, they also insist on first having a ceasefire and then discussing any possible territorial concessions. Whilst for Moscow, the Kremlin never moved and never scaled down on its maximalist demands. Not only it wants the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, it also wants Ukraine to withdraw Kyiv forces from Ukraine's territory, which Russia never ever occupied. Now, for Kyiv, this is not just a matter of fact for Volodymyr Zelensky. This is something that Ukrainians and the military would never accept, given that there are millions of Ukrainians still on those occupied territories and more than 1 million Ukrainian children who are still there on Ukraine's occupied territories.
And meanwhile, Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is planning to visit Moscow today. What are his motives there?
The meeting is indeed scheduled for this afternoon in Moscow. He's going to sit down with Putin. Interestingly, he might make a stop in Ireland, where Volodymyr Zelensky now is, because we also know that Ukraine's delegation are going to meet Zelensky in Ireland on their way back from Florida. There might be some sort of a point for them to have a quick meeting and to negotiate a little bit to see where the positions are and whether anything has changed, because before Witkoff goes to Putin to present to him whatever was discussed in Florida, Maeve.
And meanwhile, Maria Tadeo, the Europeans are trying to muscle their way back onto the negotiation table. That's why we saw President Macron host President Zelensky yesterday. Please update us.
Yeah, and it was really a red carpet moment. It's the second visit from the Ukrainian president to Paris to meet with the French president Emmanuel Macron, who really gave him a big public show of support, insisting that fundamentally the European position has not changed when it comes to Ukraine either. Of course, we have to keep in mind last week was a very difficult week for the Ukrainian government, for the Ukrainian president. Of course, we know that behind the scenes there is immense pressure from the US to have the Ukrainians cut a quick deal with big concessions, especially on the territorial question, but also the allegations of corruption when it comes to people and faces that are very close to President Zelensky. The French president repeated the fundamental position has not changed. We still believe that Russia is not interested in peace and Ukraine needs a dignified deal. So let's take a look.
It is clear to all of us that when we talk about peace, everyone has a role to play. Russia must stop the aggression. It has given no signal, no evidence in this regard. Ukraine is the only one that can discuss its territories. They belong to them, as recognized by international law and sovereignty. When we talk about security guarantees, they cannot be discussed or negotiated without the Ukrainians, whose territory it is, being at the table, and without the Europeans and all the allies of the coalition of the willing being at the table, since they are the guarantors, and since it also concerns the security of European territory.
Et puisqu'il s'agit aussi de la sécurité du territoire européen.
And that was the French president. Repeated the session in Paris was useful because it can serve to prepare the sequence for the next days and weeks. But that shows us that this imminent deal for a deal and this deadline is completely gone now. And then two, the French president insisting that there are questions and guarantees that only Europeans can fix because they hold the key. Like when it comes to the frozen asset, the issue, of course, is that the Trump train has left the station and he's not always interested in the European input.
OK, Maria Tadeo and Sasha Vakalina, thank you so much for those updates. Now, coming up, we'll be joined by Andrius Kubilius, the EU Commissioner for Defence and Space. The centre-right politician from Lithuania has been twice Prime Minister, party leader, and even had a stint as a member of the European Parliament. As EU Commissioner now for Defence, based here in Brussels, his task is to rearm Europe. Commissioner Kubilius, welcome to Europe Today. On the week that marks 1 year since you took up the post, it's lovely to have you with us. You're very welcome.
My pleasure.
Let's start by talking about the SAFE programme, the €150 billion fund to help countries rearm. After months of talks, you just signed a deal with Canada, the first non-EU country, if you like. Tell us more.
Yeah, so there are two good news. One is that member states really signed up, European Union member states signed this, safe loans. We got the national investment plans. We are prepared to move very quickly in order that money should reach governments somewhere during the next several months. And second good news is really with Canada, which is showing that our program is very open despite the criticism that we are protectionist and so on. And
then the bad news, the UK talks are still ongoing. Tell us more, what's going on?
With Canada we had very good agreement. With UK it was not so successful, but we see UK as very important strategic partner in our defense and security. We have partnership agreement. And safe loans, of course, is just the beginning of,
It's just the beginning of this plan to rearm Europe. Let's talk about Ukraine, because, of course, you were sidelined by Trump's initial peace plan, the 28-point peace plan. Why is Brussels always reacting and never really driving the day?
Well, I think that, again, we really, we need perhaps to overcome some kind of our mental, problems that usually we are waiting when some plans will come from Washington, D.C. It would be very good for us to have our own plan and then, to compare with American plan to see what is good, what we want to discuss. So I think that we're moving into that direction, since really this approach that we need to be more independent, both in our defense capabilities but also in our geopolitical standing, is coming.
Because do you think President Trump is interested in peace, or is he more interested in making money and real estate?
Well, I cannot judge, perhaps. It's good that he is taking initiative, trying to bring peace. The question is really if, that peace, as this plan is proposing, will be just and long-term peace. That is what we need to be concerned, and we're standing together with Ukraine. And definitely Ukraine wants peace, and all of us will want peace. The question is, are we able to really to convince Putin to sit down for negotiations and to agree on a just and long-term peace?
Well, Vladimir Putin, of course, is meeting Steve Witkoff today, Trump's envoy. Could Ukraine be forced into a bad deal, Commissioner?
Well, definitely, I cannot tell, anything about what Ukraine now, how they stand and what they want to do, but that would be bad. Bad deal would be bad not only for Ukraine, it would be bad also for the whole Europe, because definitely we need to understand and we need to take seriously what our intelligence services are saying, that during the next several years, Russia can be ready to test Article 5.
Indeed, that's what the German intelligence service said this week. And are we ready for that potentiality here in Europe?
Well, we are strong enough, but also we need to see that Russia is building their military capacity very, very intensively. They switched all their economy into so-called war economy, and we need to, catch up, and we need to ramp up our production. That's what is our agenda.
And should young Europeans be learning how to fight?
Well, we need to be ready to defend ourselves. This is the only way how we can really deter any kind of possible aggression.
What about the Russian frozen assets? The EU, you're banking on using this funding, but Belgium is blocking it. It's not going to happen.
Well, we shall see. As we understand, really, talks in between of Commission President and Belgian Prime Minister, they are continuing. We are ready to prepare what we call a legal proposal. And then we expect that later on next council meeting, European Council meeting, where all the leaders will come, that there will be a decision, because this is very crucial. We need to understand that our financial support to Ukrainian defense capabilities now are, without any kind of, there are no any more, financial support from the United States. So,
but the Belgians have put their foot down, so you need a plan B.
Well, I still hope that Plan A will happen. So, and that's, that would be also very important, because such an amount of financial support maybe could convince also Putin that he will not achieve anything.
Okay, that's of course the leverage the EU has on the table. Commissioner Kubilius, thank you so much for being our guest today on Europe Today. Now, the Commissioner, as you can see, is kept awake at night worrying about rearming Europe, but most of us are also focused on counting the days until Christmas, especially that now Advent has begun. The city of Brussels, though, has sparked a major controversy among worshippers for installing an alternative kind of crib in the iconic Complex. Ida Sanchez reports.
Brussels has a problem with the faces of their new nativity, or rather, the lack of them. Mary, Joseph and baby Jesus are depicted in clothes and with no faces, just a piece of fabric.
Honestly, it's awful. It doesn't work.
I like it. Alors, je n'aime pas.
I don't like it. However, I went to this interior designer's website and I found some successful works.
Et je trouve qu'il y en a des réussis.
Vous avez vu les têtes?
You saw the heads and everything? The costumes? It's not pretty at all.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I like it.
Alors, je trouve ça horrible.
I find it horrible to have changed our traditions.
Vraiment, ça n'a rien de...
There's nothing human about it. Paper faces mean nothing to me.
Ça ne veut rien dire.
Yeah, I like it actually. Like, I know some people don't like it, but I found it actually different. So yeah, I think it's good. Yeah.
Not so much. I like more realistic styles, and this is too abstract for me.
Mais pour une crèche, c'est se recueillir.
For a nativity, I think it's a shame, especially because apparently it was very expensive.
The nativity scene, made by the Brussels artist Victoria Maria, has the support of the main church in Brussels and the mayor of the Belgian capital. The designer, a Christian herself, said that she wanted to give free rein to everyone's imagination. And on top of it, the head of the figurine of baby Jesus has since been stolen.
Ida Sanchez reporting there on a story that has triggered a national debate here in Belgium about Christmas traditions versus art. Let us know your thoughts. Write to us here at europetoday@euronews.com. But now, another big debate is taking place, but this time next door in France, about whether or not to cut free healthcare for foreign pensioners. Our reporter Jacob Janis brings you some bad news now if you were planning to retire in the south of France one day.
Boys, 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 sun shines down, so come to town, set your body free. Was the summer hit of 1987. If you remember this song, boys and girls, do I have some news for you. First, collect your nice pension, you boomer. Second, coming to town, in Sabrina's words, to set your body free might just got a little bit harder. The French government plans to end free healthcare for foreign pensioners, closing a loophole that let them join the system after just 90 days of residence. The law will hit all non-EU pensioners, including the British and the Americans. And the numbers are significant. Data shows there are around 100,000 adult Americans living in France today, and a roughly similar number of Britons. And the plan is moving fast. It was accepted by the parliament last month with a clear majority, and it is likely to be passed by the French government next year. For future retirees, that means the free ride is soon to be over. And for those who already have been taking advantage of the generous system, all you are left with is to sing Je ne regrette rien in a thick American accent. Because, after all, it's another song from your youth, isn't it?
Jacob Janis there on just one of the measures French lawmakers want to use to address their spending and bring down their budget deficits. For more on that story, do visit euronews.com or download our app. But that does bring Tuesday's edition of Europe Today to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in, and do join us again tomorrow. I'll be joined here by the 2025 winner of the Nobel Prize for Economics. See you soon on Euronews.